Everybody, we are here, one of our first podcasts here at Best Fit Real Estate, and we're going to be talking today with Kassi Reiger of Remax here in Denver. And we're going to be covering kind of a variety of topics, kind of just sort of focused on obviously the Denver market. So, Kassi, let's just start off. Can you just introduce who you are, how long you've been at Remax, what your job is, just a little intro about who you are and what you do?
Heck yeah. My name is Cassie. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm honored to be the first guest that you guys bring on. I've been in real estate for 4.5 years now. So I started right at the end of 2020. I was actually a college athlete during the COVID-ness, so lost kind of the purpose and all of that due to not playing, essentially, right? We got games canceled and all the things during that time. So jumped into real estate. I dove in head first. I actually ended up finishing college athletics my junior year to get into real estate because I loved it so much. Yeah, kind of took off from there. So I've been with Remax from the get-go. I've been in the Denver market from the get-go. And as a naive 20-year-old to now 25, I think I could say that I have a lot of good experience, stuff that, most 25-year-olds could probably say they don't know about, which is fine. But I just got started so early that I feel really seasoned at this point. And if I haven't seen something yet, I typically am surprised by it. So that's kind of the backstory to my whole starting point here. Being an athlete has definitely helped me build my own business when it comes to accountability, time management, working together as a team. I got to help Jay actually buy his home here in Colorado, which was super fun. So yeah, it's been great.
So you touched on something I want to talk about. This is totally off script, but what was the biggest learning curve in becoming a realtor? Remember, the whole thing here is we're trying to help people find the best realtor for them. What was the biggest learning curve from like day one as a 20-year-old realtor to now? What's like some of the biggest lessons you've learned that if you could go back and talk to the 20-year-old self about her first 6 months in the business to now, anything you can do there to shed light on that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think two things. For me, number one is the systems for sure. So I think I worried so much at the beginning about just getting a client that I had never set up like the systems in order to duplicate that process and not only duplicate it, but also do it well each time. So now I'm at the point where even when we're under contract, I'm getting utility questionnaires filled out. I'm getting homeowner questionnaires filled out that say like anniversaries, birthdays, just more, getting in tune with them as a person and a client so that they can also become a friend of mine too. And then I think the second thing would be the people that are in my business that help serve my clients. So I finagled with lenders for years and finally found one that actually cared about my business and also wanted that repeat business. So she has systems in place that kind of complement my business too. And she's very reputable.
Your own network, your own lender, or even you probably have a couple general contractors that you
Yes.
even on the server side stuff, Will, which I want to talk with you about later too. People need to get things done. You probably have your own network of people, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I will say that's always an ever changing thing. Like you're always going to have people that maybe drop the ball or, don't fit your business anymore as you grow, but to at least have that foundation so that people can know, like, and trust you 99% of the time when things are going well, that's what you want to try to achieve. But you're always going to have that misfit somewhere or maybe someone that is outgrowing you or you're outgrowing them. And that's okay. But yeah, finding those people, I wish I could go back and be like, be very, very intentional about who you're meeting with and who you're implementing into your business because it's a direct reflection of you, essentially.
So setting up your network, setting up your processes.
Totally.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's jump into, well, first of all, you made me think of something. You're really great at follow-up marketing. I get a postcard from you in the mail once a month with your name on it, tied to like a restaurant coupon, and you're really great about that. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Is that to just, are you farming people and hoping that you'll get another listing? Are you trying to get buyers? Are you trying to get, I guess, coming to someone's house, they could be the next buyer, they could be your next listing, but has that been
Yeah.
fruitful for you?
Yeah. And thanks for actually bringing that up. I'm glad that you noticed that I send out the postcards because sometimes I'm like, do people even get these? I don't
No, we get them
know.
every month.
That's awesome. They have good deals on them too, which is great. And it's like local spots typically, which is
Totally.
awesome. But basically, you have to learn how to leverage that stuff because I can't, like every week, I can't come in the office and then think like, oh, what am I sending Jay and Jen this week? Or, that would just be impossible to truly follow up with everyone that perfectly. So basically, what you want to do is leverage those connections and make sure that you stay top of mind. I think you hear that from realtors all the time. Let's be honest, there's like probably 40, 50,000 of us in the Denver metro area. So
A lot.
what would make you want to pick me? And if I'm not constantly staying top of mind to you, like automatically you're probably already going to not think about me. So that's one of the things that I like to implement, whether it's like, again, birthdays, anniversaries, whether it's the monthly postcards, like I do want to make sure that people feel loved and like they're cared about, at least on my end. So that way, if you do have a real estate neighbor or contact or person that needs help, that you think of me. So yes, that is something that I've implemented. Part of number one, those systems, right, that work for you when you're not working. That way you can stay top of mind and continuously get business. That is the overall goal.
Because as a realtor, you're your own marketing machine. You can rely on your brokerage for some things, but for the most part, you're out there generating your own leads. You're out there doing open houses. You're doing office time. I don't know if you do floor time in your office, but you're on your own. So you're really good at that. You're really
Thank you.
good at
I
that.
appreciate that. And
Yeah.
I don't think people know that, agents do that. I think they think it's just kind of a walk in the park sometimes. And I appreciate that analysis if that's maybe how your agent is coming off to you. But there is a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that you're getting that continuous business. Because again, there's a lot of competition. It's
Yeah.
very saturated, especially here, especially in metro cities in general. So
Yeah. We're going to get into how much work it is to actually be a realtor. And I know I was a realtor for a year for Coldwell Banker, and it was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, which is why I want to just do referrals now. I just want to point people towards the best agent for what they're looking for. It is a extraordinarily hard job to take on someone's client in the biggest purchase of their life or selling one of the biggest purchases that they've ever made in their life. But before we get into that, can you just talk to us about what's going on these days in Denver? What's happening?
mhm.
Like, what's the current state of the market in Denver? And this is like free flow. What's happening with buyers? What's happening with sellers? It's almost mid-July 2025. Will and I were talking about this earlier. When we have this conversation in 3 months or 6 months and follow up with you, it's probably going to be completely different, or a year from now. What's gone on in the last 6 months and what's happening right now? Like, I'll let you choose where to start. Do you want to start with buyers or sellers?
I'm just going to start with a word, and then I
Okay.
want to work off the word because I think
Yeah.
this will help sum it up. But my word is expensive, and I'm going to use that because on both ends, I'm going to explain why that's the case. But right now, things are expensive, whether it's money, borrowing money, whether it's the actual price of the home, whether it's repairs or contractors or home maintenance. It's all across the board expensive, monthly payments, you name it. So, what that's translating to right now is, sellers are seeing their homes sit a little bit longer. Denver's one of those really cool hubs where when the rest of the world feels to be down, Denver typically stays pretty cool and things keep moving. Denver's just, we're a corporate hub here, we're a tech hub here. There's a lot of jobs. Aerospace is huge in the Denver metro area as well. So we tend to attract a lot of jobs. The ski industry is huge too. So we're lucky. However, things are sitting a little bit longer. Average days on market right now is 19, which doesn't seem crazy, but it is higher than it has been. And
19. That's
yeah,
actually shorter than I thought you were going to say. So 19 is still the average. Okay.
well, think about it this way, and this is how I'll put it into perspective. So if you're a buyer right now, I actually took a stats class about a month ago. If you know Megan, I think you say her last name is Allerid or Allerid something. I'll send you her contact. She works with First American Title, and all she does is she runs data basically for housing the Denver metro area. So one of the things she talked about is that right now, and I do this with my sellers actively when I go to list a home, but run payments on any house right now. That's what you should do as a seller and honestly as a buyer, obviously. So I'm going to use an example, but in Johnstown right now, which is north of Denver, it's about 40 minutes north of Denver. So we're outside of the Denver metro area. A ranch style home, 4,000 square feet, walkout basement. We're listed right now at $699. So if a consumer goes in there and is like, oh, great, this would be an awesome move up house for us. It, works well. Their payment right now with 10% down is going to be right around $4,700 a month. So what I like to remind sellers is, hey, your payment might be $1,500 because you bought this house in 2000 and you've lived in it since, and you've refinanced or done whatever it is that you needed to do during 2020. So your payment is $1,500, and to you that seems great. Well, think about the consumer right now. They're going to have to pay almost $5,000 a month. Let's also work in utilities into this as well. And then on top of that, you're going to have homeowner maintenance. On top of that, maybe upgrades, redoing floor plans, remodeling, whatever that looks like for you and your family to make the home comfortable. So the way Megan puts it is, people are not paying right now for compromise. So they want the location that they desire. They want the views that they asked for. They want the bedroom bathrooms that they initially planned on buying. They want the style of home, the year of build that they're looking for, the brick exterior, and there is no compromise right now. So if a buyer is not getting that from a home, guess what? They have 15 weeks of inventory right now. There's probably another home that's going to check their boxes better. So what I like to tell my sellers is be super duper diligent and focused on your price. Obviously, that's the number one thing that's going to get people through the door. But also, you're going to have to do a little bit of remodeling before you hit the market, right? Like have a neutral paint color. Maybe get the floors replaced, like the carpet and stuff if it's dirty. Let's look into staging. Let's look into changing light fixtures because right now there's just not a compromise for that. And people don't want to pay for those items because life is expensive right now. So that's the word I'm going to use for the market. Expensive.
Or they need to price it accordingly, right? Like people have no patience for what you just said, X, unless the seller has priced it with realism, right? Like as in,
I don't think that there's like the consumer's not willing to budge right now. And that's exactly what you're saying, right? It's tough if you're on the sell side because especially when you hit inspection, people are not going to be okay with the damaged sewer line or the roof replacement. And that's a whole nother conversation to be had here in Colorado because insurance companies are zero tolerance with roofs nowadays here in Colorado. So we've overdone the claims, we've overdone the hail, we've overdone the getting all of our things replaced here in the last 3-4 years. So some roof companies are just saying, we're not insuring you at all. Get a new roof. So there's now third parties involved who are saying, it's expensive, especially in the Denver metro area. We're not going to allow you to move into this home unless 100% things are good to go. There's just no compromise right now.
Will, you sound like you have a question. I want to get to it. So you're saying like a fixer-upper, even if it's priced right, is just not happening right now. Like it needs to be sort of sell-ready, move-in friendly. Is that what's happening? Like people don't, even for the right price, people don't want to inherit $100,000 worth of work that needs to be done.
Well, yeah, because life is expensive and even contracting right now. I'm sure you guys have experienced that with what you're creating too. But I mean, to get simple work done nowadays, I mean, people have minimums now. Like I know contractors are like, I won't even show up unless there's a minimum amount of job and money to be made. So unfortunately, across the board, again, my word of like choice right now is expensive because everyone's feeling that. And so everyone's adjusting based off of it. I will say too, there's this gray area. You bring up flips, which is like a whole nother world that I could totally nerd out about. But the problem here too with our market in Denver is that there is a huge pool of flippers that want to flip homes, but there's also a huge pool of sellers who want to get the most out of their home. And so right now we're hitting this conflict between investors and realtor sellers that can't get along because there's this gray area of the house is too expensive for me to flip it, but the house is too wrecked for a consumer to buy it or for it to even get lending or insurance right now. So a consumer can't purchase it either. So again, like we're in a really weird, I call it like a limbo right now because I don't think it's going to last forever. And again, homes are still selling. That's the crazy data that I'm going to tell you too, is that homes are still absolutely closing and selling at a really good rate right now. So it's really weird. I just think that sellers are starting to get the concept of, okay, we can't mess around and sell our beater for $1 million and expect no one to get an inspection. And for us to just kind of fly through this transaction, they're actually getting realistic that price has to count right now, condition has to count. There's just no compromise. And I think people are starting to understand that.
Yeah,
it's great insight.
When I hear that, I automatically hear like smaller pools of buyers, right? If like it sounds like where are we at with first time buyers, people in maybe lower, they've got two incomes. Do they have options right now, or are they just with the interest rates and the price points? Is it just like pretty much that next tier up of middle class or high middle class kind of people that can afford a home?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. So that's also another thing that's super confusing right now, and we're trying to work through it. But I'm going to call them the Gen Z generation. So first time home buyers, the Gen Z is anywhere from like 1995 born to like 2010, right? So that's like your Gen Z pool right now. And a lot of them are stepping into that first time home buyer role. So what we're experiencing though is this totally diverse income scale. And we're talking 21, 22-year-olds that just got their first job in tech sales and their base pay is 200 grand plus they're making commission and they have full benefits. That's crazy for a 21, 22-year-old. And you absolutely can afford a great house with that kind of a pay. And then you're seeing the complete opposite side of it. And there's people coming out of college that are hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt. They're just trying to get an internship to get by right now. Maybe they're not getting paid very well. And owning a home is just simply out of the cards for them. And then you're seeing this third pool, which I like to consider like the anti-home ownership pool. And it's seriously a thing right now. But you'll see it on TikTok. You'll see it trending that people in the Gen Z category are saying, we're not going to buy a home. We think it's an American scam. And their idea to this is that you have to buy it, you have to put down a bunch of money, you have to maintain it, you have to financially understand what you're doing to even get into it in the first place. And so in their brain, they're like, we don't have the maintenance skills. We're instant gratitude. We like things handed to us. We're not going to go maintain something. To us, that seems like a waste of money and a waste of our time. Number two, it doesn't bring us instant gratitude. We're not going to immediately pull out the money out of this house and just have all this wealth. So for us, it just doesn't make sense. And then number three, what's the investment piece? We can't see long term, so we don't care and we don't want to own a home. To us, we love the pools that the apartment gives us. We love the location. We love that we can hop on a scooter and hit up a coffee shop 1 block down. We love that we have our Amazon locker boxes right downstairs and all the sweet amenities. Plus, the apartments nowadays make these huge walk-in closets, these awesome floor plans. It's like luxury living. So it's like, why not pay I know I have a 1 bed and it's $2,800 a month, but I'd rather pay that instead of $3,700 a month to get into my first house and have to maintain it and have to like do basic human skills. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to like insult people about that, but that is truly kind of like that third class of people that we're seeing. So us as realtors, we're trying to educate and be like, here's actually a different way to think about home ownership. Maybe you buy a townhome that's zero maintenance, and for you that makes more sense. You're gonna have an HOA, but it's zero maintenance. Okay, let's talk about finances. Let's talk about investing. But anyways, very interesting pool of first-time home buyers right now. And so I guess my conclusion to your question would be, it's so across the board. And if you're making good money, you're buying a home, especially here in the Denver metro area, and you have options. You have great options. If you're more on that, getting out of college, trying to find an internship, it's really hard for you to even afford anything right now, let alone rent. And then you have that third pool that just says, hands off. I think home ownership is a scam, and I don't think that it's as fruitful as people say it is.
Question about the fourth pool, which I read an article yesterday, which I was just looking for on the Associated Press. Well, I don't know if I can share a screen again, but I'm going to share it really quick, Kassi, because we're on the subject. It got picked up by CBS News. This article just came out yesterday on the Associated Press that 27% of all homes sold in the first 3 months of the year were bought by investors. What is happening with investors in Denver? Do you find this to be true? Is this a fourth pool? Have you had a good experience or a bad experience? Talk about investors. Talk about good, bad, ugly. Is this true? Is this not true in Denver? Is that true in Denver? What do you think about that article?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds true. Here's the thing is, when stocks go down, you're recommended to buy them, right? Because the other option is to go up, right? So you got to buy when it's cheap and then sell it when it gets hot. So I think the same kind of outlook is happening right now with investors here in Denver. There's a lot of inventory that's sitting, a lot of homeowners that have to get out right now. I've heard people who were, marrying or dating the rate and marrying the house, or whatever that saying goes. I hate it, but it's basically saying get into the house, have an uncomfortable payment, and refinance later. It's a horrible saying, but basically people who got into that scenario or bought into it a couple years ago are like, whoa, my insurance went up, my taxes are going up, inflation is inflation, I can't afford this house
What if they
anymore.
can't buy down their rate? What if they can't, right? Yeah.
That's why I hate the saying personally, and I think it's just a sales tactic to try to get people to buy homes, which sucks. But in reality, I think you have those people right now who can't afford their mortgage payments, unfortunately, and so investors are basically saying, I will get you out of this situation, I have cash, and I also know that I'm going to get your house way below market value, so for me, it's a done deal. I don't see any risk in this. And then number two, like any investor, there's so many distressed properties around here. And again, expensive. Like people can't afford a distressed property. They can't afford to flip things. They can't afford to renovate. So it's a great time for investors to get in and be like, you have to get this off your hands. I will offer you this. And a lot of sellers are just being like, we're pushed up against the wall. We got to take it.
Have you worked with any investors personally as a buying agent or as a listing agent where a straight up investor bought it? Either or.
I've had companies reach out that have like the recorded lines and they're like, we'll buy your property. But none of those typically ever work out. I will say I'm an investor myself. We do like 6 to 7 flips per year. We're just very...
Wait, that's huge. You and your fiance, your significant other, Matt,
yeah.
You guys are doing 6 to 7 flips a year in Denver.
Yes. But
Okay.
have you know, we're small. We don't have access to a ton of capital. So what we do is we're very diligent about finding a good product, making sure that we can transform it to where we need it to be for comps and resale. and then we resell it, hopefully with, fingers crossed we stay within budget, which never happens, by the way. But essentially, yes, we do that. And so I do have access to like off market homes. I actually, super cool story, but the last first time home buyers that I worked with bought a home in downtown Loveland, again, a northern Colorado town. But they bought a home in downtown Loveland. It was off market because I had like the access to those properties, and they got a great deal on it, great interest rate. So I do advertise that to my clients. Like, hey, if you guys want to see what us investors see that's off market on like the real estate dark web is what I call it, then I have access to that and I'm happy to share it with you.
That's interesting. Well, I did not expect that, but I want to go with it for a second. So there's another non-MLS source of listings out there for people that list their homes. Explain. You can either give the domain, you don't have to give away your trade secrets, but explain what, like,
I'm
and you
an
know what,
open book.
bring it back to like the expertise that you bring to the table as a great realtor. Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what a great experience realtor brings to the table, like other than
Yeah.
just what's on the MLS. Yeah.
So basically the way this works here in Colorado, I don't know how it works in other states. I'm an open book too, by the way. So whatever you guys want to know, I will spill the secrets. But
Great.
here in
Awesome.
Colorado, it's what we call, there's kind of different ways to find off-market properties. So one is what we call wholesaling. So it's basically where these companies, it's literally real estate acquisition companies. They go out, they contact sellers, and they basically say, hey, we'll buy your house and we'll close whenever you want. We'll sign today. And so if these sellers give them a call back and say, hey, my house is distressed, I just need to get out, whatever. It's scenarios differ, but a lot of times it could be because of death, maybe a relative passed away, maybe they
I've
just can't
gotten those
afford the payment
postcards before.
anymore.
Now that you mention it, I've gotten those postcards even for
Those are
my
them.
Florida properties. So these
Yeah,
are companies that go out and they will say, here is what I will give you for this house. Take it or leave it. Is
absolutely.
that
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep. And then these companies will write a contract with you, and the whole process or the way it works is that once you're under contract, they send out that home to their database of people. So it'll be through like Salesforce or something, one of those companies that basically can just blast things to whoever they have in the software. And then they blast it to everyone. It'll have an address, it'll have photos, it will have basically a description of like, here's what we think you could sell the home for, here's the rehab that it needs. Do you want to see it or not? Essentially. And it's really quick. So the closings typically happen within like 2 weeks, if not shorter. And it's basically a first come, first serve. So if an investor likes it, they see the potential in it, they can show up that day, see the house, and it's a done deal. It'll close within a week or two. So it's a really flexible option for sellers. And it's, just this major database that emails get pushed out to. Another way to find off market properties too is estate attorneys. So essentially they have realtors that they work with. And if someone passes away, or if there's an estate, or the kids are handling, or whatever the situation is, they'll push the property out, most times off market, sometimes on market, depends. And then it also depends too. Like, think about it like this: someone could have died in a home, so you're not going to put that on the MLS. There's a lot of legal liability tied up with someone dying in a home. There might be meth, or there might be a fire, so we're not going to put that on the MLS. It's just not legally the best thing to do. So that's
I
where these
actually
off
thought
market.
I thought you didn't have to disclose if someone died in a home. And so I recently renewed my license in the state where I'm licensed.
Mhm.
And I remember in one of the classes, it said that you had to disclose if there was a meth lab. It was very specific in class. I remember this, but you didn't have to disclose if someone passed away there. Is that,
Yeah. So
is that a thing in
yeah, the way it
Colorado?
works. Yeah, the way it works, and I'm someone who takes ethics over rules, honestly, because at the end of the day, people are going to find out information, especially a death. I mean, the coroner's office is showing up and picking up a body. Like, the neighbors are going to know what
Sure,
happened.
sure.
So the way I look at it is, the rule is you don't have to disclose a death. However, your clients are going to find out. They're moving into a home and neighbors live there. They're going to know. So if you heard of a death or something happened, just tell people.
Yeah,
If they want the house, they're going to buy the house. And the way it works is, if you get it cleaned per state standards, so that means you rip out all the drywall, take out all the ductwork, redo it, whatever. If it's clean per state standards, you don't have to disclose it. Again, let's go back to ethics. Like, your neighbors are going to know that someone was cooking up meth and then the house across the street. So just tell
totally.
people. And if it's cleaned appropriately and someone still wants to buy
I
it,
would want to know if someone died in my house.
totally.
But at the same time, I don't know that it would deter me, but I would like to know it. Like, I do think it's an important thing to disclose. Will, do
I
you have
agree.
anything on any of this? This is a lot of great information. Any questions I might be missing?
Well,
Follow-ups or?
I just assume everybody. There's two things that happen in all homes: is people. Well, three things. They're born, they get there, and then they make the things, and then they also leave the things. So I kind of feel like that's just part of life. How do you get away from life, procreation, and end of life. I don't want to switch gears here too fast. I really loved all that stuff, but I have to ask one question, because one of the things we really have focused on, and this is why I fell in love with this project with Jay, is because I had a really bad experience with a real estate agent, a selling agent. I was trying to sell a couple of properties. It did not go well. And, it was just a friend from the neighborhood who was trying to, make his way, and it was just not working. I mean, it was aggressively not working. And then we got introduced to somebody and we got the right agent, and the contrast between those were so different. So I'm going to ask you an uncomfortable question.
Hmm.
Have you ever had to come, you ever had to be somebody's, like, they came to you after, or they came to you and they had to separate from somebody else? And, what was that, what was that uncomfortableness like? Like, what do you see as the biggest things that a selling agent can do that can really tank your ability to make a successful transaction in both speed and price?
Yeah, totally. I feel like I have so
And
much to
yeah,
say on this. I
yeah.
feel like I could like go on for miles about this because I think I've seen both sides of it pretty clearly. I'm gonna be transparent too. I've been fired before, and actually, Jay was like, you knew about the situation. It was that house on the golf course that we went and looked at, and
My
remember I was,
God.
ah!
We I don't know that we have enough time for that today, but we
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
going to have to tell that story. No, that is one of the stories that Jen and I tell everybody, so we will definitely revisit
All
that.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll
Yeah.
revisit that. But I've been fired before too. So it has to make sense for the client and the realtor. And the cool thing about here in Colorado is there is a clause in our contract that allows either party to cancel the contract without any damages or whatever. So I think that in Colorado makes people very, what do you call, good faith about who they're working with, because you know that you can cancel on either party, which I do love that clause that we have here. I think it's awesome. I would say things for me as a professional that now that I've seen so many transactions and worked with so many people, if I were to just go out to the public and be like, here's what you should do when you hire an agent, is number one, go sit down and take 30 minutes out of your day to go have coffee with them. I actually require that now just because I would speed into things, and sometimes I wasn't meant for someone and sometimes they weren't meant for me. And so I was like, you know what? If you can't take 30 minutes out of your day to have a coffee, you're better suited with a Zillow agent. Just go inquire that way. That's what I would recommend. So 30 minutes, take 30 minutes, sit down, just meet the person, ask about their life, ask about if they have kids, ask about what's going on in their life, and then truly get down to like, what are we looking for? Like, what areas do we need to be in? What schools do you want to put your kids in? What do you guys like to do outside of work that might interest you? Is it skiing? Is it hiking? Is it, I don't know. Let's like find out what you love to do and find an area that would suit those needs. Anyways, and when you're doing those interviews, you can get to know someone and you either get a good feeling or you don't. And I think that could help vet
Make sure there's a
99% of issues.
connection. Make sure there's a
Absolutely.
connection.
I think people see us as salespeople, which we are. That's part of our job. But on the flip side of it, we're also supposed to be mentors. We're supposed to guide people. We're supposed to be therapists in ways. Like, how are you going to get that connection with someone if you don't have it in the first place? So that would be my number one. Also, number two, just ask someone if they answer the phone. I mean, let's be honest, we all have these honest like at all times these days. So if someone's not going to be actively answering the phone or even just setting boundaries, I think that's a really good question to ask. Like, hey, when are your working hours? I would like to know because I respect it and I want to make sure that I am not invading on your family time too, and vice versa. Like, when's your working hours so I don't bug you either? Another thing too is if an agent isn't super transparent from the get go, just move on. I do this thing with all of my clients where I work up net sheets, especially on the listing side. So if you're going to go sell a home, I put a net sheet together that says, here's the price I recommend, here's the fees you will pay, and it's broken down line item by line item. Here's what you will net at closing. Is this even something that relatively works for you? If not, I would recommend calling Redfin and getting your house listed for 1%. They're not going to do anything for you, but money wise, you're going to be in a better position. You're not going to have to pay someone the 2.5, 3%, whatever. So I like to just very transparently up front be like, these are the fees and this is the cost. Same with homeowners too, or home buyers. Obviously you have your down payment, but you also have closing costs associated with that. And I also just squashed the bug right from the get-go. Hey, there was a lawsuit last year that dealt with realtor commissions. Here's how this affects you as a home buyer. Here's what we do here in the state of Colorado. So I just have that conversation up front. So I would say honestly that 30-minute coffee is so telling of who you're going to be working with. But also number two, go look at their reviews online. Go look at how many homes they've sold. Look at if other people have had good experiences with them. Ask for references. Like, I'm happy to give out my clients' numbers like Jay and be like, go call Jay. Like, he bought a house with me. Like, see how the process went. See if there was things that he didn't like, things that he did, and make your decision based off of that. So again, we're advisors at the end of the day. We are supposed to be here to support you, to be on the same team as you. And if you don't feel like you're on the same team as your agent, you feel like you're having to work against each other, that's just not a good relationship. Or if you despise the fact you have to pay them, please just fire them. You should be excited to pay your agent. I've even had a seller one time be like, can I up your commission? because you've literally gone out of your way to do
Wow.
everything for us. Can I please up it? You've mowed our lawn. Can I please up your commission a little bit?" And I'm like, "You don't have to do that, but if that's what your heart desires, like, I'm happy to send the contract." So I just think you got to find good people at the end of the day. And if you can't sit down and have a 30-minute coffee with someone, how are you going to know or even have a glimpse of who you're working with?
So, on that same note, obviously it's great to pitch yourself here, but generally speaking, for our audience, what are some things that a great listing agent does right now in today's market? It can be things that you do, but I think that's a big question. What
Mhm.
should an amazing listing agent offer you? Open houses every week? I love that. If when I list a home, like I want to know if it's not selling, you're going to do an open house. Like, what are some things?
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So expensive. Let's go back to that's the topic of the conversation today. Expensive. We know that consumers aren't buying homes that need work. So I'm immediately going to come in and be like, let's make a checklist of all the things that need to get done in this house. I'm going to offer to pitch in some for you, and you're also going to offer to pitch in some as well. And what we're going to do is collectively as a team, because remember, that's the whole goal here is to be a team. We're going to get your home up to market standards or at least market conditions that are acceptable to a consumer. And then we can talk about price. And then we can talk about what we feel like is fair as far as the condition of the home goes. So things I offer as soon as I walk in is staging, photography, and a deep cleaning. That's my basic. Every package gets it if you want to take advantage of it. Staging will cost me anywhere from $2,800 to $4,000, depending on if we've got a big house or if it's luxury. If it's not, it depends. Right out of the bat, I'm writing a check for that,
You
and
take
that's gone.
that, you write that check out of your checkbook.
Yes.
And Remax doesn't reimburse you for that.
Nope, that is out of my business. That's part of my expenses. Again, we're a team, and I can't promise you that I can sell your home if I can't even make sure that it looks good for a showing,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm going to be making a phone call to you every single Monday and saying, "So we have no activity, really bad feedback. It was just really bad weekend. All right, on to this weekend." Like that sucks to make those phone calls. So if I'm not just having that conversation up front, I'm not doing what's best for you. Also, number two, if a seller knows, they kind of let their guard down as soon as I'm like, "Hey, I'm coming out of pocket 4 or 5 grand on your house." As soon as I say that and I tell them what I'm offering them, all of a sudden, the fence comes down and they're like, "Okay, I'm willing to price where you recommend now because I'm seeing that you're putting in so much money and work to our home that you're not even guaranteed to get it back. Let's be realistic and let's sit down and as a team figure out the best marketing plan for my house." Because I kind of feel bad. Like sellers will be like, "I feel bad that you're dishing out that much money. I
That
want you to
can't
get
be,
the
this
closing."
can't be the standard. This can't be the standard, right? Like you do this
I
to
don't
go
think
above
it
and beyond.
is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
no.
don't know. I need to ask other agents like what kind of their listing protocols are, but that's just for me what has worked. And again, it justifies my pay. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Again, I'm a very transparent person. I'm an open book. I do think that our pay, especially if we're talking like $1 million plus, is a lot. Like we're getting paid quite a bit. And don't get me wrong. Yes, we deal with a lot of like legal liability. We have to hold insurance. We're negotiating contracts. We're negotiating the sale of millions of dollars plus for you. So I get it. Like I agree that's a lot of liability, but in the same breath, you can't tell me that out of $20,000 commission, you can't pitch in 4 grand to make sure that the listing looks good and that you have the best chance of selling. So that to me is where it's like, I would much rather fork up that money and tell someone, "I'm on your team. I'm so excited to help you. Let's crush this and let's get your
That's
house
awesome.
sold,"
That's awesome.
than having those Monday phone calls and being like, "Hey, you paid for the staging, you paid for the cleaning, you paid for everything. I don't even know what value I'm providing to you anymore besides our open houses. And honestly, they're 2 hours every weekend. I can't even really tell you what I'm doing for you at this point." I don't ever want to have that conversation with my clients. So again, upfront, I say, "This is what I'm doing for you." And I think regardless of the actual staging and selling part of the transaction, this creates a really good working relationship with your clients because again, they feel like your commission is absolutely justifiable at that point.
Yeah. I
100%.
mean, when I had that really good agent came across, she was first thing she showed up and she started fixing things just like you're talking about. Like she just started,
Yeah.
we're moving this, we're going to stage this. She started putting stuff in the house, and then it needed a new roof, and she's like, I got two buyers I know will buy this house if we can get the new roof on it. And I'm like, well, there's no more extra money to put in that roof, right? Like, so she's like, she made a deal with one of her contractors to take it at close, right? And we just factored that into the price and solutions, right? Whatever that thing is, like, I think when I think about as a home buyer or seller, I don't mind paying that extra money because I know there's value in an agent, but that's what I need. I need all those things I'm not going to think of or know how to handle solutions to problems I don't know how to fix. And
Totally.
we don't do thousands of transactions, in our career. We're going to do, a handful, and they're all going to be one-offs. And I think that's the thing that people don't realize. No matter what situation you're in, you're about to make one of the biggest investments in your life, and it's a one-off. Means you're not going to
Yeah.
be good at it unless you're a professional person going through this process. And there's so many pieces where that thing can fail, so many opportunities to have it go wrong. And I don't think that there's a problem. I don't care how big it scales. As far as a total fee goes, the percentages are not unreasonable for the amount of work and effort. And as the homes get bigger in price, the work gets bigger in price too, right? There's more scrutiny, there's more things to do. So I think it scales just fine. I think the perception problem people have around that is, well, there's a problem in our society too. People don't like to tip. People don't like, there's all this stuff where like I value what I do, but I don't value what you do, and that I
Totally.
don't think we can fix that in anything. But thank God there's some good people that don't have a problem, like like Jay and myself. We're fee payers, right? We're like, hey, you got expertise, we want it, and we're willing to pay for it, and it's valuable to us because my first realtor was telling me, he's selling me on how I should take less for the home than I wanted, and instead of coming up with solutions on how to get what we want, like,
Right.
and if I'd have gone with him, I'd have lost probably 25% of value.
Wow.
That's
And
huge,
then
right?
you look back and you're like, I paid realtors maybe 6%, and I would have lost the 25 just on one guy and one sign in my yard. So yeah, I agree with you. Our society is a little bit backwards on that. But I would like to hear from you guys too. Like when you think of good realtors or the realtor world in general, like what is that to you guys?
Yeah. So for someone that would take a listing from me, I would expect them to give me brutal honesty on price, the condition of the unit, what it needs. I want to know what the market's doing. I want to know, like, are you actively marketing to buyers? I want to know everything that I possibly can about that agent and what they're going to do for my listing. When it comes to working with a buying agent, which I did with you, you know how much we were in touch, right? Like I want
Totally.
to know, like, what else besides the MLS listings are you doing? Like, are you listening to all my needs of what I want? Like I wanted to be near a golf course. I wanted to be near a park. I wanted to have a west facing view. If I told you I want those things, don't bother showing me a bunch of other places. Like I know I'm telling you I want those places. And if I give you a price range, it's okay to go a little bit above it. I think there's value in that because you might get a better deal than what the listing's at. But try to stay within the range that
Be
I can afford.
intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, there's so many intangibles. What about you, Will? I'm like having trouble with that question because there's so
You
many
know,
things. We've talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think for me, like, I want to be able to focus what I need to focus on, which is making the decisions, right? And figuring out what I want and looking, because, honestly, let's say I'm a buyer and and I hire an agent to go find me a home. There's so many options out there. There's so many gotchas that I don't understand, right? And things I'm just not going to be able to think of, right? Because I'm going to be focused on the handful of things that matter to me, which is a pool and a hot tub. That's just to tell you.
All
It
right.
could have like a kitchen, a pool, and a hot tub with no other rooms. Well, maybe a bathroom. I'd be good, right? But I'm going to look at those things and go, I'm going to get so laser focused on the things I'm focused on. I'm going to miss the thing like, oh, hey, it's by a sewer system processing plant, dude. Like, I'm going to miss those things, right? Like, give me the pros and cons. Give me the stuff I'm not thinking of. HOA's been a problem in the past, or hey, if you go 2 blocks over, there's no HOA at all, and you get rid of all those people, right? Like, what are those things I can? Is that is that you? Okay, uh,
I think
that's
you're
what I
fine
think
now,
of.
but keep going.
That's what I think of. I think of all the things that I'm going to miss that a professional is going to go, I've seen this 1,000 times. You're going to regret that purchase, or
Yeah.
or hey, these are something to really consider because you're here and you're probably in for 20 years because this market. You're not gonna make it. This market's dead, and everybody's moving over here. And I mean that was something we saw a lot in Dallas, right? You'd see a community that would pop up, and it'd get real hot, and then like they'd build a whole nother community, and everybody moved further out, and that those properties would decrease immediately, and they'd drop, in these little
Right.
pockets. And so being able to predict market trends, so that kind of thing, like that's the stuff I'm looking for. And also, I don't want to do all that work. I don't, especially when we go to close. I don't want to have to remember all the things. I mean, I've heard horror stories of people missing their missing their deposit deadlines, missing their going to contract, not being able, not knowing it, they had to reach out to the title company at a certain time and get certain documents over, showing up without ID, the proper IDs, just stuff that, like, when my realtor came down, she said, "Hey, we're closing on this date. Here's all the documentation you need." And I had a punch list of stuff, and she was there, looked at, met me in the parking lot, made sure I had all my stuff, and that's invaluable, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
It's really invaluable. And you're thinking about 1,000 different things, and it's none of those things. So I
Yep.
need somebody focused on those things. I think like any kind of like subject matter expert you can get. Like I know general contractors get a lot of grief because they're like, what do these guys do besides coordinate these? Coordinating workers to work in between is amazingly complex, and it takes a
Totally.
ton of time and experience. So, I don't understand why they get so much grief, but they do. And I think just people don't, until you start doing it yourself, and the DIY crowd, you know, you're always going to have a bad one for the first 5 times. So if I'm going to buy and sell homes, yeah, maybe I want to learn this stuff, but I don't. I just want to move into something. My hardest
Totally.
decision needs to be the decision I need to move forward and make a big decision. That's enough.
I'm so glad you said all of that because honestly, this past year for me has been about that. With the questionnaires that we do, and before someone even looks at a home, I literally have, it's like a 40 question questionnaire, but I tell people, please just take 10 minutes out of your day to fill this out. And it's a good reference point to me, like what's a non-negotiable, what's things that we need to be close to, what's the bed bath that we have to have, what's the monthly payment that we need to stay within. Because you know what, just like Jay mentioned earlier, you got to be so intentional about this stuff. It's not like buying a car. You're not just going to take it back to the lot 2 years later and get something new. It's not like that. This is your home. You're going to maybe grow kids there. You're going to maybe retire there. I don't know. Like this place could be a forever home. So being intentional about the search is absolutely invaluable. And I appreciate that you two see the value in contractors, realtors, pay, like
Yeah.
all the things. Cause you're right. Like you've got to live your life, and who else is going to leverage that for you if you don't pay them, or if you don't, give them the proper okay or green light to go do it and do it well.
It's like when I work with an attorney or a lawyer, and I've worked with a few in the last few years over different issues. I want them to be one step ahead of me.
Totally.
And so many times I've emailed my attorney, what about this? What about that? Don't make me think about this and that. Like, just be the expert. Be one step ahead of me. Tell me about what issues I'm going to encounter in this neighborhood. What's this neighborhood like? What do you know about the seller? Did you call the agent? What's the vibe? Like, there's so many things that go into it that I want to go back to one thing you mentioned, the difference between Redfin and a brokerage. My neighbor's house was for sale.
Hmm.
They ended up dropping the price significantly, and it sold with Redfin.
Hmm.
But it sat for 3 weeks and they didn't get any showings. So to me, I say to myself, if they had had a great realtor that took that listing up front and was really honest about pricing, because their house was in pretty good shape. You dropped off a packet about it, right? We could talk about that listing. Can we talk a little bit about the main difference besides saving money on commission between working with a discount brokerage or for sale by owner and working with an experienced realtor that's going to charge 2.5 or 3%? Just
Yeah.
high level stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually, I think you're talking to the right person because I actually inquired about Redfin maybe like a year and a half ago. Just wanted to ask about the brokerage, what they do, what their fees are, whatever. And the agent told me that was like on the recruiting board. Don't quote me on this. I've never worked for them, but from what she told me, when you take a listing with them, you have to take 1% commission, or maybe it's 1.5, but it's something around there. And essentially, you put a sign in the front yard, and it is what it is. You don't really have much leverage or flexibility with pay. So you put the home on the market and that's that. But then on the buy side, you get to make your full commission. And what Redfin does is, since they're a platform that heavily is trafficked by consumers, you'll get leads from Redfin as a brokerage. Essentially, you're going to close a lot more buy side deals. So the listings that you're taking are just kind of like supplemental, maybe for more of those buyer leads for the buy side when you're a Redfin agent. So really the way that brokerage works is they're very buy heavy. And I think the listing side is just like I don't want to say free for all because it's not, but you put a sign in the yard and you hope an offer comes in, or you hope that Redfin's generating those buyers for that listing. And then, you can make a deal happen. So when
Okay.
I inquired, I actually ended up not following through or working with Redfin because of that. I just was like, well, you could add so much value to someone if you had some flexibility with your pay. And you can't really do that when you're strapped to that 1% or 1.5, whatever it was. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how that works. If you have an agent that you hire out, like a third party with Remax or whatever, just know that we're all individual contractors. So I hang my license at Remax, but remember that I interviewed Remax to work here. They didn't interview me, and that's typically how brokerages work. So you pick a brokerage that suits you as far as the resources, the tools, the splits, the fees, whatever floats your business better or floats your
Yeah.
boat more, I guess, in your business
Yeah. No,
and
no. I
makes you
mean,
successful.
that's huge. Like, what are they going to be providing you in terms of marketing and partnership? And also, there's a
Totally.
big split. You know that, Will, right? Like, Kassi makes that commission, and then she actually splits it with her broker. Or there's always a commission. Like sometimes the broker will only take 35 or 40%. But when I worked for Coldwell Banker, because I
Mhm.
was a new agent, they took 55%.
Oh my gosh.
They were 50 or 55%. You don't have
Yeah.
to tell us what your percentage is if that, but like, what's the average split in Denver, maybe?
I would say most people that I hear is around like 25 to 30%. I'm someone who pays my cap up front. So the way it works is you have a cap. So let's say I'm just gonna throw a number out there. Let's say your cap's 20 grand. Well, that split is paying towards that cap. And then when you
Oh,
reach your
there's
cap,
caps?
yeah, and some brokerages don't have caps.
Jay's finding out how badly he got screwed at
What the
Coldwell
hell? What the
Bank
heck happened to me?
in real
You
time.
got you got to negotiate your brokerage. No, so the way it works is once you hit that cap, the split typically falls off, and then you're paying virtually just to like keep the logo on your branding per se. So here at Remax, just to be transparent, again, I'm an open book, but my cap is only, I want to say $11,000 and some change maybe. And then my split is 70/30. However, I pay my cap upfront at the beginning of the year. So I write them a check and it goes on my account as like a credit. So every month they're just basically taking it out and paying towards my cap. And then so every check I take is 95.5. So I keep 95% of my paycheck and 5% it always gets paid to Remax just to like put the balloon on my advertising and pay for those services. So I liked it because it was cheap, super affordable. Remax is an internationally known brand. I know people tend to say that it's like an older brand, but I'm like, who cares? I mean,
Right.
they have such a chokehold on the market. People know who they are. Every time I show up to a listing appointment, when I have that balloon, no one questions what I do. They know exactly what I'm doing. I don't have to explain myself. And then on top of it, too, all their platforms are internationally known. So they have an international actually branch that does real estate in Ireland and Germany and whatever. And then also here in the United States. So for me, I was like, why pay more? Like, I guess what would you be paying for if you paid more? Obviously, I haven't interviewed at like higher split brokerages, but I think it's for that luxury brand. Like Compass feels more luxury. They have more luxury listings. They also have a concierge program at Compass that I know about. So they'll pay for those repairs on your home up front. You pay them back at closing. That's
Yeah.
a
Like
pretty cool
every
service.
brokerage has a value add to the agent, right? I was a first year
Absolutely.
agent, and I remember over the years it would go down and the more transactions it would go down, but it was very steep for that first year.
Yep,
It was like,
absolutely.
yeah, it was like 50%.
And some brokerages, I will say, don't have caps. And I've heard about that before. I think the agency, the last agent I worked with, said that she was on a 25% split and she didn't have a cap. So she'll pay that the entirety of her career working there. But I'm like, girl, you're paying a teacher's salary every year to your brokerage and it'll never end. I mean, you can pay 100 grand in a year if you're really doing
Right.
that well and
Yeah,
it'll
that's a
never
lot.
end. Right? I was like, I don't know, you should interview. I don't know what your brokerage does for you, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. So
Yeah. Any final advice, Kassi, for the questions that buyers and sellers should ask when interviewing an agent? I know you talked about the coffee, getting to know them. We covered that well enough. Like, how about like 3 bullet points of what every buyer should ask of an agent or every seller should ask of an agent,
yeah.
especially here in Denver? Because we're gonna label this as a Denver expert on the market, something to that effect. So, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, my 3 bullet points, like if I were just a consumer and now that I've been in the industry, if I were to move to a different state and hire an agent, for me, the top three questions would be number one, how do you get paid? I think that should just be transparently out there. How are you getting paid? On the buyer side, here in Colorado, typically the seller's paying. So have that open conversation with your agent. That way you know too, for transparency purposes, how are you getting paid? Is it coming out of my
Right.
check or is it coming out of someone else's?
Yep.
Number two, obviously ask what your processes look like when it comes to seeing homes. I generally tell people I will give you a weekend or two to let's just go frolic around and figure it out. But you're going to need to get serious after weekend 2 or 3 because now the research search is over and you now understand what is in the market, what payments look like. You kind of got a hold on it. Let's get intentional. So
Yeah.
what do your processes look like for getting intentional? And then number three, I would just ask like how well are you connected in the real estate community? I know that doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but think about when you go to write an offer, just like having a good pre-approval letter, it's also really good to have an agent's name on the contract that has a really good reputation in the area. not only could that maybe get you some extra negotiating power, but if you're up against multiple offers, or if you really want a place and maybe there's some weird, nicks and knacks to it, whatever, having a well-known professional in the industry is probably going to give you some leverage over getting your offer accepted. So just ask those things. Like,
That's
you
gold.
need to give yourself a fair chance here. So make sure you're working with someone that gives you all three of those bullet points very transparently and very confidently too. That's a huge one.
So, Will, you're going to love this. I think our audience is going to love it. Kassi was my buying realtor when we were looking around here in Denver. And I told her we wanted a golf course, west facing views with mountain views. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, I just got this listing, or you might have had the listing when you met me, but I don't think so, because we worked together for like a year. No, you got it like as we were moving to Denver. The timing was right.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh my God, Jay, I've got this
Insane
house.
home.
Insane home.
Insane.
It's on the golf course with mountain views. It's clean. It might need a little bit of updating, but it's super clean.
And it's sat on the putting green, so you don't have to worry about a golf ball hitting your house. Like, it's perfect.
We show up, we look at this house, and Will, we love it. We love it. The view is, it's like, in a way, it's better than ours, even though we like the house that we're in now. We love the house. We love our house better now. But you could literally see like Long's Peak out here, like one of the big mountains. It sat literally on the putting green, which technically I didn't want. I didn't want to be that close because I didn't want to get hit by golf balls. A beautiful backyard, beautiful house. They were priced very high. They were overpriced. Kassi, I mean, I'm sure you did a lot of work with him on price, but we're going to get into why Kassi got fired because of something that she brought to them that we wanted to do. So we went back and forth on price. We put an offer in. They rejected the offer.
Well,
Or does the story go?
Let's also give some context too. Like, this house was great, it had a lot of great features, but it also had a lot of updating that needed to be done. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. It was outdated. It was very clean, but it was completely outdated. It was very 1999. It wasn't even early 2000s. It was like gold showers and like older tiles, but it was very clean.
It was. They took really great care of the property.
And this is going to be irrelevant, but I think they wanted 1.2 million, and it was very clearly worth more like 950,000. So we asked Kassi to put in an offer for us, and we found out that he was a veteran, a Marine. He was a Marine, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And we also wrote him a letter, and we said, hey, we respect your service. We come from a family of service members. We love your house. We want to start a family. These are all true things. And here is why we're making this offer. Not just Jay and Jen Beck are making an offer of, and I think we offered like 1.1. It was respectable. Like, we still offered like $1 million. We're like, hey, we're going to offer you 1 million. And here's why. And we listed all the things and why we're coming with this offer, but how much we love the house. We love what they built.
Jay and Jen were so detailed about this that they brought an interior designer in to basically be like, here's roughly what it would cost to get this home.
Yes.
Where you want it, to top of market. And have you know too, this was during a busy season of real estate too. So things were moving pretty quickly at the time, and this home was just sitting. And again, it would have tons of showings. The open houses were packed, but that's the market telling you that you're a little too high priced, right? So Jay and Jen also felt the same way, and they were justified in that feeling. And so we wrote this offer, and have you know, I'm representing the seller. I wish I would have gotten some credit for also bringing the buyer. I think that's super cool and super awesome. Bring the buyer, we write an offer, and just completely done. Take your sign out of my yard, delete my phone number, you're fired. And I just told Jay and Jen, I'm like, hey guys, I have an update for you. So we didn't get the offer accepted, and I'm fired. So
they fired her. Will, they fired her for bringing us an offer, for doing her job. They fired us for bringing the offer forward. And maybe we should have never written that letter, but it was very respectful. It was literally like so sweet, and just why we were bringing that offer. And for whatever reason, he completely took it out on Kassi and fired her as her realtor.
And to be transparent, here in Colorado, you're not allowed to do love letters. So what I did is I didn't send him the official love letter. I had basically when I had presented the offer, I had read the letter just because I didn't want to get in trouble. But I presented all this. I was like, this is who they are. I'm working with both parties here, so I'm trying to play it fair and just you're done, was completely done with me, fired me. He ended up, I always want what's best for people. So he ended up hiring a different agent that was actually through Compass and got it sold actually pretty quickly. But I think he ended up selling it for about the price you guys had offered on that offer. And this time he had to pay two agents, right? Like the buyer agent and the listing agent. And I had just presented him a great offer, really well qualified buyers, and he had one agent. So, anyways, funny story, but I feel like I went through a lot with you guys, and we haven't
We
even
went
like
through a lot. Will, what do you think of
reminisced
that
on it.
story? And this guy was crazy too, by the way. I don't want to go in too far into it because I don't want to get us in trouble. But he,
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, you never really can tell. I tell you, I stopped trying to predict people a long time ago because I've just had conversations that I think are so amazing, and somebody's literally called me an SOB and told me to get, and I'm like, wait a minute, I was just complimenting you, and now we're mortal enemies. I'm like, what I do? And I go back through it, and I'm like, I can't figure it out. I don't know.
you just can't figure people out sometimes. You
You
can't.
can't. You can't. I remember we were looking for. It was during the LA times where you're trying to rentals were just next to impossible, which is still probably that way. Literally, you'd have to show up with cash in hand to bribe the landlord with like letters. We had a whole pamphlet of like, here's our family, here's everything. And the amount of lack of humanity from a lot of people was just amazing. And actually, we thought, well, maybe if we find somebody who really owns the house or not like a management company. No, they were worse. They were way worse on average. You'd find the lighthearted, the kind-hearted person, but mostly they were just bad. They were bad landlords. They're bad at it, and it was a nightmare. So I had so many things where I'm like, we put together this amazing thing. Hey, look at this. Those letters just backfire like crazy. I mean, it didn't help us one iota on any of it. The only thing that helped me was I just tried to find somebody I could connect to on a personal level,
Totally.
you know? And that's it. I mean, that was the only way that it could drive because any of that other stuff, it just, I don't know. People hate it. It's like they feel like maybe they feel like they're getting marketed to or something. I don't know, or sold.
Totally. Or maybe like
You
solicited
know?
to or something like, hey, take this because of XYZ or yeah, I could see that. Okay, I'm gonna leave everyone with one book to read though, if you guys, like books, but it's called A Course in Miracles Made Easy. Make sure to read the easy one because it's like a college level like book. It's very hard to understand. What do you call it? Psychology professor wrote like a study basically, but it's
Mhm.
really good in sales because it talks about interpersonal communication and how a lot of people have ongoing circumstances in their own life that obviously reflect how they act in their own life, but it breaks it down into chapters in different aspects of the human life. And so I urge you to go read it because just like you're saying, Will, like so many people are strapped up in all these stresses that we have no idea about. And then,
Yeah,
the
that had
world,
nothing to totally. That
Nothing to do
had
with you.
nothing to
Yeah.
do with you. That guy had his own issues going on.
yes,
Hey, what's the name of the book? One more time. I want
it's
to make
called
sure we post it.
It's called A Course in Miracles Made Easy. It's honestly one of the best books I've read. I recommend it to everybody. It's
Okay.
honestly good even if you're not in a business platform to just understand people. Like I've avoided so many conflicts just by reading that book. When I first started at Remax, I had a manager that her and I didn't really, jive too well. And I finally was just like, I'm done conversating back because I think she has a lot going on in her own personal world that maybe I don't know about. And then ended up finding out, 3 months later that her dog passed away and was having seizures and it was a lot of vet visits. And I'm like, that right there. And ever since we've gotten along. So I'm like, I just sometimes think people have a lot on their plate. And I will say, as I get older, I get a little bit more disappointed in humanity just because you run across crazy situations and people that are just so willing to throw other people under the bus. It's sad, but you got to
But I
just be a
think
good
we never
person.
know
And
what another person is going through. And I actually want to read that book now because I don't think age matters. I still have personality conflicts with people. I'm in sales.
yep.
I think that you have to understand, or you'll never understand what someone else is going through, and it may make them act a certain way. Would you say if you could go back, would you have done anything differently when you got that listing? Take me out of the equation. Like, would you have demanded a lower sales price or would you have walked? Like, is there anything you would have learned from that whole situation? Like, that was such a crazy situation. It was
Mhm.
so nuts. It was so bananas. Well, I guess we can wrap on this too. Like, is there anything you would have done differently or that you learned from it?
Well, the thing about that listing when I took it was unique because it was an expired listing. And he had walked into one of our offices when I was working here and was like, hey, I need to find an agent. The last agent didn't cut it for me. And I was just happened to be the one at the office. So I didn't get that one from like marketing to him or talking to him. It just kind of happened.
Fell in your lap.
Yeah. So the way I looked at it, I didn't put a lot of money into the house. I didn't, because I knew that he was kind of like maybe a recycler of agents kind of a person. And that's fine. There's people out there that are like that. So I had my guard up a little bit too, and I did try to help. If it were me, I mean, I think more honestly, I just wouldn't have taken the listing and maybe just been like, here's my honest feedback for what we can do to sell it. And if you're not willing to do that, let's just go our separate ways. I'm sure someone else can help you in a better way. So that's probably what I would have done better. But at the end of the day, it's one of those really hard sells where he's expired. He's gone through multiple agents already. He's just looking for the perfect time and the perfect person to sign on a dotted line that happens to be the perfect market conditions, and it just happens to work out the way he said it was going to work out. Again,
Will, we forgot to mention that part of the story, Will, is he had fired his previous agent as well before Kassi.
Big, well, that can be a flag, Yeah.
It happens. So.
Well, hey, it's been a great session. I definitely want to follow up. There's, obviously a couple different ways. If you need in the Denver area and you need an agent, you can reach out to Kassi directly, or you can come to Best Fit Real Estate. We will definitely help you, maybe provide a few different people like Kassi. Like, this is the in-depth information that Jay provides and our research provides. Like, this is where we find the best agents. So contact her directly or go to bestfitrealestate.com, set up a schedule meeting with Jay, and he will help you find the right agent. Thanks, everybody. This has been great.
Kassi, thank you so much. This is invaluable. We have so much great stuff. We'll talk offline later, but you've just been so generous with all your knowledge and sharing. And this is anybody that's looking in the Denver market should take a look at this podcast and hear your feedback. So thank you so much.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Next time we're gonna have to get into rumors and wild stories, and just have a whole show about wild stories.
Yes, I have some of those.
I love it. We'll plan that one next.
Realtor funny stories and horror stories. More of that stuff will be interesting for next time.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.